This has been a long anticipated video for me to make. It's my first ever dream build that I've ever done on my YouTube channel. In fact, it's the first dream build that I've ever done. If you're not familiar with the dream build, it's where you spent more money on one bike than you ever dreamt of spending in your life. I'm kidding. Not really. I'm going to use all of my years of experience of using different components, wheels, forks, frames, all into one bike. Now, I've built bikes from the ground up before, but never where I've just totally hand selected every single component that I thought would be the best for the bike. Now, I have not gone totally crazy like with ceramic bearings and titanium bolts, but it's pretty close. So I'm going to talk about the components in this video, why I chose each of these components, and of course we'll start with the frame. And if you've been watching my channel for a while, this won't be a huge surprise. Let's take it out and I'll show you what it is. So it's none other than a transition spur, and this is the new one that's UDH compatible, and this color is just so sweet. It's got these silver highlights of the spur logo, and that's important because of some of the other components that I've selected that we'll get to. So this is my favorite frame that I've ever ridden for an all-around bike. This will be my cross-country and down-country bike, and I am beyond excited. Now, it was honestly really close between this and the Niner RKT9. The reason that I went with the spur is because of the extra 20 millimeters of travel in the rear, just to make it a more versatile bike. I'm basically combining cross-country and down-country. I used to have one of each. Now we're going to one bike, and we're going to invest a lot of money in this. Now, the frame only actually comes with the Fox shock with the Kashima coating. I really didn't know that until after I got it here. This has been in my garage for a month. I've been waiting to get all the other components in. The last component came in today, which is the wheels, another component that I'm super stoked about showing you. So that's the frame. Let's move on to the fork before we start going over all the other components. This is the fork that's going to end up on the bike when it's all said and done, and that is the Öhlins RXC fork. Now, I will say everything that I'm showing you in this video, frame components, have been purchased by me except for the fork. The fork was given to me by Öhlins, and I want to disclose that. However, after testing the Öhlins forks, they are the best riding fork that I've ever ridden. They give the bike that coveted hover bike feeling that you feel like you're just floating above the terrain, and then when you hit a bump, it just absorbs it. So I won't go too much into all the ride qualities of all the components that I'm going to show you. I just want to tell you why I'm selecting the components. Now, the reason this is not going to go on the bike at first is because this is set aside for another project, a Softail project that I'm going to be working on, that it'll stay on that bike for a month or two, and then I'm going to put this one on. So in the meantime, I'm going to use this Öhlins RXF. So the RXC is just a lighter fork. The ride qualities are going to be the same. For the most part, this is just going to be a bit heavier, so I'll drop some weight once I put the RXC on the bike, but this one is going to ride really, really well too, so it's a great fork. And now onto the wheels, and I'm so stoked about these wheels. So this is somewhat new for me. Now, I've ridden Industry 9 wheels before, but not in recent years. This is the ultralight carbon wheel with the new Solix hub. And this is the reason why this build has taken a little while to get going, is because I wanted to wait for the new Solix hubs. That wonderful sound of Industry 9 wheels. So these are going to be absolutely amazing on this bike. Super stoked about these wheels. You'll notice that it has the silver hubs, and that is to match the logo on the spur frame. Two other components that I got from Industry 9 are the stem, also silver, and this is a 40 millimeter stem. The reason I went with a 40 is because the two other spurs that I've had 40s, and I don't want to change anything about the ride quality of the spur. So we're going with a 40 silver Industry 9 stem, and also a silver Industry 9 headset, the silver top cap. Also got some silver Industry 9 headset spacers. Since I'm talking about the cockpit, I'll go ahead and mention the saddle is a WTB Silverado saddle. Absolutely my favorite saddle ever. I try to put this on all of my bikes. And for the handlebar, I'm going with a carbon race face. This is a low rise bar, so it's a 20 millimeter rise. It's got a 5-degree up sweep and 8-degree back sweep. I just love carbon handlebars. They make the bike just feel more responsive. And speaking of responsive, I'll go back to the wheels, and the Industry 9 wheels are going to be next level responsive. So if you can't tell, I'm excited about the wheels. Now to the drivetrain, and this is one where I debated for a while. I wasn't sure if I wanted to go electronic or mechanical. I am honestly right now totally neutral between the two. I absolutely love Shimano XT. I had it on several bikes. I've got it on my 9er Rip 9. I just got done with a ride a couple hours ago on that bike, and it just shifts so well. But I want to give electronic a really fair shakedown. And since I'm spending all this money on one bike, why not? Why not go with SRAM electronic? So I'm going with the Axis transmission, Axis T-type, and I got the whole kit, right? So this is just the derailleur, the cranks, the chain, the shifter, everything's in here. It's one, upgrade kit that you can buy, but that's probably the most economical, and economical is a little bit of an oxymoron when we talk about this stuff, but it is the best way to purchase this stuff. Just get the kit. So I'm not even going to open this up right now. I'll open it up when I start the build. So it is, of course, a UDH derailleur, being that it's SRAM transmission. I will say, one of the things that I really like about SRAM transmission is how bomb-proof the rear derailleur is. And it's supposed to, the drivetrain is just supposed to last for a really long time. Just because the way it's made, the way it shifts and all that. So I've never personally owned a bike with electronic shifting. This is my first one ever. Now I do have a gravel bike that I'm building up right now that's going to be electronic, because listen, I review a lot of stuff on YouTube, and electronic is here to stay. So yeah, that's what I went with. Oh, and it is XO. So again, since I'm throwing all this cash at this bike, why not go with XO instead of GX? So it's going to make the bike a little bit lighter. And now for the brakes. So I told you that this is a bike that's putting together everything that I've liked about all these components. I'm not going with SRAM brakes. We're going with Shimano. And I'm not even going with XTR. I'm going with XT, because XT brakes for me are the best feeling brakes. They have that instant grab. They still have good modulation, but they have that instant bite that for me is so important on especially cross-country trails, when you're braking as late as possible and you just need that instant grab going into a corner. I just love Shimano brakes. I don't mind SRAM brakes. I love their bleed process, but XT just has the better feel, and the fact that their mineral oil is just icing on the cake for me. But it's really about the performance. So I'm not going to take these out, but the brakes are Shimano XT. And I didn't really show it on the wheels, but they are center lock hubs. So I got some Shimano center lock rotors, both 180, because that's what the spur uses. And now on to the dropper post. So I've used two brands over the years that I really like, OneUp and KS. So I went with KS for the main reason that I've actually had a problem with two transition bikes with the seat post slipping with a OneUp post. I don't know if they fixed that. I don't know if it was a combination of transition and OneUp for those frames, but I had that issue on a Smuggler, and I had that issue on my last spur. So I went with a KS seat post. I love KS seat posts. I've got one on my 9er Rip 9. Works so well. This one I think is a 180. You can use a long dropper post on a transition spur, which is really nice. So I'm not going to take this out of the box, but you'll get to see it when it's all built up. And now for the pedals. This is really no particular order, but I'm going to put on these Look pedals. These are the Look Extract. These are not brand new. I've actually reached out to someone at Look to see if I can get some of their new carbon ones. These are a little heavy, but I really love the platform of the Looks. I use my Shimano cleats, so it's SPD style, but these have been my favorite pedals that I've used for a cross-country, down-country bike. My favorite grips, ESI Chunky. So these are foam grips, very simple, but I just love the feel of these grips. ESI Chunky in black. And finally, for one of the components that is so important for how the bike rides, the tires. If you've watched my channel for a while, you'll know that I'm a huge fan of Maxxis tires. I'm now a fan of Schwalbe too. I had some Schwalbes on my 9er RKT9, the Racing Ralph and Racing Ray, and love those tires. But I've used this combination before and I really like it. So we're gonna go on the front with a Recon Race. I like the Recon Race because of the extra shoulder and side knobs, especially those times of the year when there's a lot of leaves on the trail. But I just like the cornering grip. I like flying into corners and getting good grip. And so I went with the Recon Race. And then for the rear, I got the Icon. So a little bit smaller tread pattern than the Recon Race. The Icon is a fast rolling tire. And by the way, for the size, I don't know if you saw that on the video, the Recon Race is a 235, the Icon is a 2.2. Now, later on down the road, I'll probably get a second wheel set and different tires where I'll probably put on like a Recon in the front and a Recon Race in the back. I believe that's the combination that I've used on other spurs, and I really like that for a little bit more rugged terrain. But that's a little bit more down the road. But these are fast tires. These are cross-country tires that are also pretty versatile for riding more rugged terrain. So that's the tires. I didn't show the bottom bracket. It's not included in that kit. I don't think it is. I ordered this separate. I hope it's not. But it's a dub bottom bracket, so it is a threaded. So the spur, if you don't know, uses a threaded bottom bracket, as do most modern mountain bikes today. So that's the bottom bracket. So that's my dream build. I am going to start building it this week. The next video that I make on this project will show the entire bike before I ride it. As you can tell, I'm excited. I've never done this before. I think I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I have built bikes from the frame up a few times, but they haven't been this level of frame. I think it was like an alloy giant Anthem that I built up one time, and maybe one other bike, but this one is a whole new level. So I'll get this build going and then I'll show it to you when it's all done. Thanks for watching my first ever announcement of a dream build on my YouTube channel. Any questions or comments about the components that I've shown in this video, why I chose them, if I didn't explain something well enough, let me know. I'll try to answer it for you. With that, I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching.